Hello, welcome to game 2 of the small games finals. Ngober won the first game. So now we'll see if CP can hold serve. As DZ said, this is a stronger board. We have Wandering Minstrel for actions, does some sifting. Margrave is good draw, very good attack. Plus buy, sentries or trashing, so between those three cards you can do a lot. And obviously Haggler here is great, because then you can do the thing I mentioned previously, pick up the Margrave and gain a Minstrel, so you keep your action balances. There's also Alms, so you can open with 2/4s potentially, or with Courtier you can do some powerful things where you have virtual money with Haggler and Courtier, and then also use Alms for your second buy if you don't have a lot of treasures, so you can trash pretty far down with Sentry and not be too worried. As I mentioned, Courtier, you're probably going to play with that, because you can point it at Margrave and get +3 coins, +5, gain gold, all that stuff. Mostly want to be playing with these cards on the top line. Probably don't want to be playing with many of the cards on the bottom line, other than early in the game. Necromancer maybe has its moments, especially because you can play Zombie Apprentice on your Necropolis, and then Necromancer can be a Necropolis if you need it. I could see maybe some use for Watchtower strategically. So when you're gaining all those things with Haggler, you're getting them at the top of your deck. But also you have to watch out, because the Margrave is going to force you to discard, so you can't top deck like 5 things. You only want to top deck. Basically you want to top deck a Minstrel and a Margrave if you can, if you go for that strategy. So in terms of opening, you can open with 2/4s. I'm not quite sure what those 2/4s would be. I probably just want to open silver. Silver seems reasonable. You want to hit Sentry as your first 5. Get that going, get that trashing going, and pick up Margrave and Minstrel. After that, I can also see a little bit of an argument for Necromancer. Early on, you can play it as Zombie Spy, which I will scroll down to that. Early on, you can play it as Zombie Spy, potentially Zombie Apprentice. I don't think you'll do this a lot here, but Zombie Mason trashes the top card of your deck, and Sentry can be used to figure out what the top card of your deck is. So if you, for example, have a Province on top of your deck, revealed by Sentry, you can play Zombie Mason to trash the Province and gain a Province, effectively remove, VP neutral for you, but, potentially hurting your opponent, their ability to win the game by milling provinces and removing them from play. Both of them opened with a Watchtower, which feels early to me. Silver Watchtower. As I said, I'm not super sure I want to have a ton of Watchtowers in my deck. But they were both able to get sentries here. So CP did exactly as I thought was right, which is to get Sentry first and then Margrave. That Minstrel is quite sad when it's flipping your silver over, but you really don't care that much about the silver. And Ngober went for the Courtier first. I think the Margrave is just better because of the attack and the draw. And I would even consider, as CP, just trashing this Necro. I guess you keep it until you get a Necromancer, but I don't really want to be playing and having a Necropolis in my deck, but maybe you keep it around for a little bit longer. Unfortunately, if they'd kept it on top of the deck, they might not have drawn their Margrave dead, but that's life sometimes. So Ngober can play Courtier on Watchtower first for action coins or action buy, and then play the Watchtower to draw an extra card. And now they don't have a good target for this Courtier, so they kind of screwed that turn up, it looks like. Yeah, if they played the Courtier first for action buy, and then played the Watchtower, they would have drawn one more card and had a plus buy. And potentially that one card could have been something, like another Copper that had 7 and 2 buys. They could also play for plus coins, but they don't have plus buy yet, so the 9 coins is not that useful. Now for them, I definitely go for Margrave. They have 2 villages already, and you really want to get that attack in. It's going to be tough to do much if you're the only one who's getting attacked. I do not think you ever want to buy gold in this kingdom. I I think I want the game to end with the gold pile close to 30. Maybe later in the game, once your deck is completely, you've trashed all your coppers, you start to go in for golds just for a little, and you have a bunch of Margraves and Hagglers and Sentries and stuff. But if you're playing a deck with Wandering Minstrels, golds are just not that useful because you're going to be skipping over them and be sad about it. So CP is going to find the Margrave here. I believe they should play the Sentry next. Yeah, they can trash both of those happily. I think they probably want to watch the play order here. Probably the best play order is Margrave first, and then consider if they want to play the Minstrel at all. With 2 cards in the shuffle, I think they'll be fine. I think they need to play the Margrave before the Wandering Minstrel, though, otherwise they trigger a bad shuffle. I have a Watchtower on top, but it's not going to be helpful. Yeah, so this shuffle has a Hovel and a Copper on top of it, which is what I meant by triggering a bad shuffle. They can play Necropolis, Watchtower, and draw one of those, which makes sense to me as a good thing to do. Yeah, they don't really want to top deck a Courtier, so Haggler. Yeah, Haggler I think is also good here. Again, they want to be buying Margrave, Wandering Minstrel in pairs, so that seems to work. So CP leading on Minstrel. One nice thing Lynch and Ngober did in the last turn is play the Margrave as a way of the Chameleon, because otherwise it was going to be dead draw, which is quite nice here. And then you can, 2 Wandering Minstrels seems okay, I guess. I really want to get to having a Haggler in turns. Haggler come in and play every turn, so you're always buying Margrave, Minstrel, or, maybe at some point if you have 2 Hagglers in play, you could buy gold and 2 Margraves. And yeah, CP is able to draw deck here, so they've put together a nice draw deck engine. They seem to have enough draw right now, so potentially they could go Courtier Minstrel or Haggler Minstrel. I think they want to not get too far behind in Minstrels. They don't necessarily need to get 5 Minstrels and tie the split, but they certainly want to try to get to 4. But I also don't think they want to buy Minstrels themselves and then get like Farmers Markets or Pro Levers or something. That doesn't seem super helpful. So something like Haggler. Is another Haggler seems good. Another Courtier seems good as well. They've got plenty of dual types: Margrave, Necropolis, Watchtower. Maybe they want to be keeping the Watchtower in hand, so maybe they do need a little bit more draw, so they don't have to play the Watchtower for draw every turn. Although hopefully the Sentry will be able to do a little bit more trashing work. Yeah, this seems like not... the Farmers Markets just don't seem particularly useful in this kingdom. I realized they wanted to get 2 Minstrels, but I think they could have gotten 1 Minstrel. I don't think there's any chance Ngober's getting 3. So, Ngober trashed 1 copper. Probably they play the Watchtower first. I guess it makes sense to play the Minstrel like that. They do discard bad things. Make sure you play this Courtier before you play both the Necro and the Margrave. And then Yeah, they should have enough. Yeah, so play the Courtier first for coins buy, then play the Margrave, then play the Minstrel. I think that's the best route. One of the things they can try to do is play the Sentry as one of the later cards of their hand. This seems neutral, unless they draw the Hovel. This seemed very strange. They could have chameleoned that Margrave and then played the Minstrel for a clean shuffle and ended up with one more money, I think. Pretty sure they end up with one more money in that scenario. At this point, probably Haggler and Minstrel. So good buys there. Again, the Necropolis is a sad card for these decks. I guess if you trash yours, then your opponent can get a Necromancer and get another village out of it, but I'm not incredibly worried about that being what happens. If that, you basically want to spend your terminals on one Margrave, a couple Hagglers, and maybe a Courtier. And I said, I don't really want to be playing Watchtowers as an action here. I don't really want to be playing Farmer's Market as an action. It's not doing that much for me. Courtier with +3 money is going to be much better payload. Or potentially Margrave as Chameleon is going to be better payload, although, and then, once you've got a couple Margraves, and all your cards are actions, then you can switch to gain an extra gold or two. As I said, if they play the Sentry late in the turn, they're able to trigger a shuffle with the things that were discarded by Wandering Minstrel, so they're able to trash those. And this is the type of kingdom where you just immediately click both those, send them to the trash. You don't want any coppers in this deck. You really don't even want silvers. Maybe you have a couple of golds just because you gain them for free with Courtier. And when you start greening, the golds can be okay. But, Margrave also serves as a gold with +3 coins from the Way of the Chameleon. Watchtower is interesting as Way of the Chameleon. If you have 2 Watchtowers in hand and 3 actions, you could play the first Watchtower as a Chameleon for +5 coins and then draw with the second one. But that seems pretty tough to set up here. We don't have so many villages, and you want to be spending some of those actions on Margrave, Haggler, and so on. That does not work. When it says plus cards, good call, DZ. Watchtower does not say plus cards. Chameleon says plus cards. Everything that says plus cards normally says plus cards. So good to know. The other thing is, once you have no treasures in your deck, you can always alms for a free thing. So if all your payload is from actions, then alms gives you free. You can get a free Necromancer. For example, Necromancer, the first Necromancer is perfectly neutral because you can always play it as Zombie Spy. Or it's at worst neutral. And the second Necromancer you can always use to play, for example, a Farmer's Market that you've trashed and put into the trash. I like that buy. Courtier is a really good card. Too many Watchtowers. As either player, I would like them to get a Necromancer and play Zombie Apprentice on those Watchtowers. I really want one total Watchtower that is used for top decking my stuff. Although the village pile is empty now, so we sort of transition into the part of the game where we need to think about where all of our payload is coming from. Obviously, we've been thinking about that the whole way, but it's much starker now that we have no villages left to buy, and we can sort of count, which I've been doing the whole time. But if you're playing 5 terminals and one of those terminals is a Margrave, and one of those terminals is a Haggler, then what are your other 3? Courtier can be, I guess you have Necropolis too, so you get an extra one. I don't think anything's wrong with 2 Hagglers. I still think Necromancer is a very good card for these decks. I would certainly be looking to get a Necromancer here. Honestly, Ngober could probably go with another Sentry, as their trashing has been slow, but
they've got 3 extra actions, so they could even get something like Margrave Necromancer here, or Margrave Necromancer, and maybe even Necromancer Farmer's Market. You have the terminal space for the Margrave and the Farmer's Market. The Necromancer will mostly be played non-terminally, and will help you set up your sentry to get rid of the rest of these coppers. And if you can get rid of 2 coppers next turn, or copper and hovel, then you can start to potentially start to gain gold with the overdraw that you have. They may also be thinking just about buying province, which I feel is a little bit premature, but it feels nice to gain provinces first. And if they gained a province, the thing I'd like to gain with that is probably another Margrave, just for the draw aspect. And then if you are able to draw a deck in the right order, then you can play it as Chameleon. They went with Courtier Watchtower. I really don't, again, like the second Watchtower. I would have preferred a Necromancer there. Necromancer just does so much on this kingdom. I mean, most of the time it's just somewhat neutral. Zombie Spy is a little bit helpful for setting up Sentry and so on. But the times when, once the farmer's markets go in the trash, if an Acropolis goes in the trash, it just does a lot. And I don't have anything to say about the Noble Brigand. It doesn't make any sense to me. So CP maybe is AFK. So yeah, we're always leading on Minstrel. Probably we top deck the Watchtower and play that first. They've got enough Watchtowers, enough terminal space that they can go ahead and do that. I kind of want to play the Necro first to decrease the hand size even more, but this seems fine. What is in the discard pile for them? A copper and a courtier. So they can, if they're paying attention, they can trash that copper guaranteed. So they can play the Margrave now. They can play the Wandering Minstrel now. And they do have a copper down there. I think they need to play another action first. They can now guarantee that they trash that hovel if they play the Margrave first. Yeah, so now they can play the Last Village, and they should be able to guarantee trash that hovel, which will be nice. The only other question is if they want to Courtier gain a gold, which certainly they can do. That seems like a mistake to discard that Haggler. I guess they can play Courtier and point it at Necropolis with Chameleon to get +3 cards if they need to. So this should be coins gold. They do not need another buy. They've got 4 buys. I think they need to play the Sentry first there in order to guarantee a trash. Now they don't get a trash out of this, unfortunately. And again, I really want to get rid of all the coppers from the deck so I can use alms with my spare buys. So if that +3 coin plus buy was a gold, they could have drawn that this turn. They could have also trashed a copper. I know that was a little bit contradictory with what I just said about no treasures, but gold I think is worth it to get the provinces and 5 costs. But if you're not having golds, then I want to be able to have no treasures. I'm not quite sure why they didn't just draw that silver. So yeah, I think they could have done some top. They could have drawn that with Pearl Diver naturally. They'd have had 1 fewer money, but they would be able to top deck what they buy here. So mostly they're building, what look like pretty good engines. Most of my comments are just sort of optimizations on exactly how to ramp up your payload as quickly as possible, which in this kind of king is really important because the person who ramps up their payload first starts greening, and then the other person has to stop adding payload to keep up often. And we're slightly terminal limited. You've got each of them have 6 villages. So, picking between your terminals, and you want your terminals to give you as much money as possible, which is Courtier and Margrave, or you want them to give you, your extra gains, which is your Heckler. And if you want to get up to using all those 5 costs, obviously you need to have money quickly. And Necromancer here is a much better, I think, than Watchtowers. I'm not quite sure what they're planning on doing with the Watchtowers. That was also Gold Pearl Diver. Pearl Diver is certainly worse than Necromancer here. So as I said, Ngober can play Courtier, reveal Necropolis, and take coins. Courtier Chameleon. Reveal Necropolis, take coins, buy coins, gold, whatever they decide to do. Yeah, they realized they did not chameleon it. Yeah, Farmer's Market, weirdly, is a 2-type. It's got this gathering type, which is a type that is only in Empires. I'll leave that to the chat to give me, without looking it up, please. Can you tell me what the other gathering piles are in that expansion? Yep, TZ with it right away. So because of that Chameleon Courtier trick, they were able to turn what looked like a dud hand into like a full kickoff engine turn, which is quite nice. Obviously, with this kind of kingdom, if you have one dud hand, you're going to fall pretty far behind because they're starting to hit points where they're adding in 3, 4, 5 action. Last turn, CP added in 3 action cards and a gold, which maybe wasn't the optimal set of buys, but they're adding a lot of good stuff. So here, Courtier can reveal Hovel for coins by. I think I wanted to draw with that Watchtower and chameleon that Margrave. But if they're going to do top deck tricks with Watchtower, obviously that's going to be nice as well. So they can reveal Hovel and get for. I guess coins buy. I don't really think they have enough space for gold. And honestly, once they start greening, both these decks I think want to have another sentry to help filter and hopefully finish cleaning up these coppers. And yeah, for Ngober, this seems like a reasonable time. They've got the Hovel in hand, so they can gain Province. Something like Province Sentry, trash the Hovel. And they should have enough terminals. They don't really need to play the Noble Brigand. Province Sentry seems reasonable. And then like Margrave Necromancer. That gives them draw and so on. Too many Courtiers, I think. Maybe not. I mean, if you could play the Courtier for plus action, plus 3 cards, it's a super lab if they've got a Watchtower in hand. So I hadn't really been considering that interaction. But yeah, if you have a Watchtower and Acropolis, if you have a 2-type in hand, which we see are Margrave, Noble Brigand, Watchtower, Farmer's Market, Necropolis, and they've gotten rid of, both of them have gotten rid of their hovels. One of them has gotten rid of their hovels in River State. So you can play the Courtier for plus action, plus 3 cards, which is obviously a phenomenally strong effect. As almost all the Dominion cards that do that cost 5, but force you to then discard cards after the fact. Stables before the fact and Forum after the fact. So CP moving through the deck here. Again, I'm hoping they can set it up to trash with their Sentry, but it looks like the order. I'm not quite sure where the Sentry is in this shuffle. Did they end up discarding it last turn? Okay, I would have probably kept the Sentry in my starting hand. Let me see what they drew. Courtier, Margrave, 2 Wandering Minstrels. Yeah, I would have kept Margrave, Sentry, Wandering Minstrel as my 3, because I really want to be able to do good stuff with the Sentry. You know, finish thinning or filtering, whatever need be. I think we're a little bit slow. You know, it's turn 11. I think with optimal buys, which again, I'm not going to claim that I know the optimal set of buys on this kingdom. With optimal buys, you can get to a similar point around turn 9, perhaps. I mean, this is a very fast. It's a very fast kingdom. You can do a lot of stuff. Alms is a good supporter of that. Obviously, the Haggler lets you gain multiple things all at once. So I think this wants to be action coins, and then play a watchtower. They seem to have a little bit run out of draw, unfortunately. So their Pearl Divers, which were cantrips, got turned not into cantrips. So there's almost an argument for not playing the Courtier and drawing. No, I don't really think that's going to work. They do have a Sentry down here in the bottom, but it's a little bit sad not to make your way through the deck. But that being said, you've got a lot of money and buys, so you can still have a really productive turn here. They played that as Way of the Chameleon. Yeah, I don't think it mattered because I had a full hand, but they probably should have kept that in hand and been able to top deck something here. If they're going for the Province Sentry line, which I like a little bit, I think the Sentry is going to help them keep up the reliability aspect of their deck. With a little bit more sifting, this deck I think can be more reliable, and they can top deck another Sentry. And again, for both these decks, I like another Margrave, either for the +3 coins, the plus buy, as well as just they've got a lot of villages and only a few big draw cards. You could argue that Courtier is doing a similar thing to Margrave. That you really only need 1 Margrave. You can add more Courtiers with the +3 cards plus action thing, which I will buy. But the Watchtowers are actually, like, as we saw this turn, kind of actively bad for these decks. Because of the, you have multiple in hand and they're not doing the thing you want to do, which is plus 3 cards. You get one of them will work, but the second, third, and fourth don't seem to have that same awesome effect. So it's nice here, though. Fine, the first one obviously does have a really strong effect. We can play this Watchtower here right at the beginning of the turn and draw 4, but probably that's the last time that Watchtower is going to be effective. I think they really should not have played that Sentry there. They should try to get back around to this discard and trash some of these coppers. It's a minor player thing, but it can make a difference. Potentially, yeah, if they'd saved their copper till now, there's a chance they could get both these coppers, potentially. So now they are thinking how to proceed. I mean, I think you just play the Margrave for draw. Gained a silver from the trash, and they trashed one of CP's silvers. So I feel like that's actively positive for CP's deck, which they didn't draw last turn. And it's actively negative for your deck. But perhaps I'm overstating it. So with 3 Courtiers here and a Watchtower, they can track. So they need to know how many cards are in their discard pile. I believe there are 3 cards in their discard pile. No, there's 5 cards in their discard pile. So they need to play this Watchtower. Yeah, they've triggered a bad shuffle here. They need to be a little bit more careful and play one of those. Wait to play one of those Courtiers for draw here. I guess, though, they can play the Haggler for draw. And they did find the Necropolis, which is nice. Yes, they need to play the Haggler for draw here, as they have a Province and a Copper, I think, on top of the deck. It might be a Province and 2 coppers. I definitely want to get my Haggler into play there. The 4 VP doesn't seem worth it compared to getting more gains, more provinces, more Margraves, building your deck more. But as this, especially because they don't get the gains now from it, and they're going to have potentially a bad turn next turn with a 3 cards on top. That being said, they've got 19, so province seems reasonable. I don't know what I'm doing with my extra 3 money. I think I'm a Pearl Diver's better than passing, but it's close. Obviously, if you had the Necromancers like I've wanted for a while, you could apprentice that Pearl Diver. And honestly, you could apprentice the Watchtowers when you had those Watchtower hands. There's a lot of nice tricks you could do here with the Necromancer. Is Pearl Diver better than nothing? It's not incredibly clear to me. I guess it is. So I guess you just get double province. Pearl Diver, I'm going to put CP in a tough spot. If CP double provinces, then you double province and win. So that's a tough spot. They might be thinking to replace the Farmer's Market that they just trashed. But the thing is, they didn't get to play their Haggler, which is like the best card. One of the best cards in their deck. So I would really want to play that Haggler. So I would want more terminal space. Yeah, so here CP can just draw the Courtier or the Watchtower and use it for draw. Probably I guess they draw the Watchtower first, and then can draw 4 with it, which is nice. I'm not quite sure what they're thinking about. They wanted to discard the Pearl Diver. I guess. I'm not incredibly clear on why they did that, but it doesn't seem actively bad. It seems like they could have played that as a chameleon for the coin and then drawn past it with a Watchtower. But so here, yeah, here I think you're going to end up drawing with at least one of these Courtiers. So you can top deck Minstrel. You can play Courtier on Hovel for coins buy, or probably action coins. You have plenty of buys. Action coins, then play the Farmer's Market. Well, actually, you don't have to. So then you can play the Watchtower to draw 2, draw the Minstrel and Courtier. You can play the Minstrel, play the next Courtier for actions buy, play the Watchtower. Again, I want both these decks to have many fewer Watchtowers and many more 5 costs. Not sure why they are chameleoning it. Yeah, I mean, you do need to chameleon some of these. Problem is, then the Watchtower is just completely useless. Yes, they are going to slowly find their way through to the Margrave. This is kind of why I wanted to have 2 Margraves, because you would just guarantee it's a little bit easier to line those up and play them. Although Courtier tends to fulfill the same role. I don't think they're going to be able to play either of these Watchtowers, so they can go ahead and chameleon the Courtier for draw here. Yeah, I don't... They might get to play one of them, so... Yeah, it just seems pretty tough to... I would also probably chameleon that Haggler. Yeah, this is a slight annoyance. If you're playing IRL, you just say I'm playing this as chameleon, but in the UI, you have to click it first and then click the other things. It's one of the more complicated UIs. If you're the player, there's a little square pops up that you can click on, or you can click on way of the chameleon first and then the card. So CP's in a pretty tough spot. I think they just have to double province and hope that Ngober's not able to double province themselves here. If they single province in Duchy, That gets them to 18 points. Then Ngober double provinces, they're at 34. And there's really no way to make up that 16 points difference. You'd need a province and more than 3 duchies, which is beyond the scope of this deck at this point. Yes, what we're seeing is they've accumulated these 3 watchtowers in the hand, and they're not able to do anything with them, unfortunately. Maybe they're going to get a tiny bit of draw out of one of them, but if one of those watchtowers was instead a necromancer or even a pearl diver, it would end up being better for the deck. And obviously, if it was a 5 cost, but some of those were picked up as haggler gains when they bought a 5 cost. So they can go action coins here. Buy coins, I don't see. They might as well have gone for action because the buy is not doing anything. Well, it looks like they didn't hit 18 anyways. 16 anyways. Province, trashing the hovel, gain. This is tough. All the watchtowers make you not want to add treasures to the deck. So potentially gain like another courtier here, which can be used to potentially as for coins, or and then I like necromancer gaining pearl diver with your other buy here. If Ngober somehow duds, then you can potentially mill a province and buy 2 provinces next turn. They did finally take the necromancer, although that one I think should be courtier, and then the necromancer should be the next one. Oh, it's giving them the option to top deck, which they should take. The necromancer is going to be a nice card to have on top of the deck. You can always play it as spy, or you can apprentice something. And then they get to decide what they want to do on their 4. It's really not at all clear to me. Yeah, I mean, I wanted the 5. I guess Necromancer, Pearl Diver seems like the best thing here. Especially because Ngober doesn't have Necromancers yet. You can feel okay apprenticing things and then playing them from the trash. But I suspect Ngober is very likely to kick off here and buy double province, at which point the game will be effectively over. What do people in the chat think about Necromancer? Would you have bought a Necromancer earlier? Do you like the Necromancers now? What's your thinking? Yeah, so Chameleon Necropolis for plus action, plus 3 cards is quite nice. And now you've got your minstrels, so you can start filtering the greens to treasures. Yeah, they can even do Necropolis, Minstrel, Haggler, Watchtower. Probably they want to... now they can get the... They don't have a way to get the Brigand before the Watchtower. But they can play Necropolis, Minstrel, or they can play Haggler now, Watchtower. Haggler, Necropolis, Watchtower. Yeah, I mean, it to me is a very, very strong card, especially if you're gaining it off of a Haggler play. It seems much stronger than Watchtower here. I really like the ability of the Apprentice to trash the Necropolis. I like the Spy is fine. Mason can do really awesome things with the Sentry, figuring out the top deck. There's some ordering issue they just had. They really wanted to play, I think, the Watchtower before they played the Margrave to guarantee maximum draw here. Probably they should play this first Watchtower just to draw 3, and then use the Courtier for the plus actions, plus 3 cards. This is just drawing, it's getting you 3 more money, but it's drawing you 2 fewer cards, which could come back to bite you. It looks like it's going to work out fine. They need to be very careful about playing that Wandering Minstrel, I said, right as they played it. They just don't want to trigger a really bad shuffle. They should be okay here. I think they wanted to play the Watch. I think they wanted to play Farmer's Market Watchtower first, and then play the Courtier for plus action, plus 3 cards. I'll note Ngober did hit 16 last turn, but they had a Farmer's Market for 4 and a Farmer's Market for 0. So this turn they had a Farmer's Market for 3. Yes, this is quite nice. And it looks like they have a pile out even. So nicely done by Ngober to find that pile out. It was not on my radar given that they had enough VP, even like a double province wins, but nice for them to spot that. Overall, you see turn 13 pile out. I think a little bit too much on the Farmers Market's Watchtower, a little bit more Necro 5 costs, but they seem to have plans there and carry them out. I will see you in game 3.